minutes, nonetheless. Thank you so much. For your reference, this recording will be disseminated only within the APEC members. So everything told today will not go beyond APEC room, let me say. So it's my pleasure to welcome everyone here to today's roundtable. This event is held under the Russian project on technological solutions aimed at monitoring GHG emissions. We launched it some time ago under APEC Policy Partnership on Science, Technology and Innovation. During recent years, we have seen the enormous interest to the climate change agenda, not least due to the IPCC reports and even domestic observations of the increasing emissions level. In fact, hardly you will find an economy globally that has stayed aside climate commitments. Take, for instance, Russia. We envisage carbon neutrality by 2060. We have elaborated the thematic strategy of low carbon development, as well as the whole new regulation pertaining to mitigation and adaptation to climate change. I will not dig deeper into the climate-related infrastructure that has been introduced, though it's important to note that we have launched the federal project to create a climate monitoring system. This one will be crucial for us to adjust climate policies in a timely manner and see the larger picture from the temporal and spatial lens. The system will, on the one hand, utilize evidence from ground-based, aerial, and space-based solutions, and on the other hand, it will complement these monitoring methods with bottom-up ones, in particular calculated estimates of emissions. How this project works out will be the subject of one of today's presentations. Now, I'm stressing that it's not only Russia that has jumped on these sort of activities. Many APEC economies are exploring methods to improve the way they monitor, report, and verify emissions, sources and sinks, hotspots, and leaks. On top of that, international organizations are contributing to these efforts, possessing access to more economies, more trustworthy information sources, and being able to complement one fragment of data with another one to come up with broader recommendations. During this roundtable, we will be honored to learn the experience of both sides, international organizations and particular economies, representatives of public and private sector and academia. The focus of our discussion from the variety of topics will be GHG monitoring from space. We will test several assumptions. First, our hypothesis is that the Earth observation satellites shall be necessarily included in the emissions monitoring contour due to the level of precision and scale they provide. We reckon that ranging in spatial, temporal, and spectral resolutions, satellites can be effectively applied at the regional, global level, but also point source level. Secondly, we assume that public and private missions matter equally and could amplify each other rather than move in a competitive mode. Our third assumption is that cooperation within APEC and globally will come in handy for all the parties. Transparent exchange of satellite data, open science and open knowledge regarding the models of converting satellite data into user-friendly services seem to be a prerequisite for tackling our mutual challenge, which is climate change. With our profound experts, we will test these thoughts. All in all, we are open for the dialogue on the opportunities and barriers that still exist in the realm. We'll start with listening to all the presentations, and then in the very end, we will move to the Q&A session. So let us start. First of all, I would like to give the floor for the welcoming remarks to Mr. Marat Berdiyev, Ambassador at Large, senior official from Russia to APEC, who has been substantially supporting us on the path of organizing this roundtable. So please, colleagues, let us share the video recording.
Dear colleagues and friends, I'd like to thank the Ministry of Economic Development of the Russian Federation for the excellent initiative of the roundtable on GHG emissions monitoring in the APEC with the help of satellite technologies. I hope that the discussion today will lay solid groundwork for our collaboration in this field. For Russia, sustainability is a key priority in all its three dimensions: economic, social, and environmental. We are relying on achieving carbon neutrality by 2060. In line with the Putrajaya Vision 2040, we implement a whole set of domestic policies to advance circular economy, energy transitions, and green finance solutions. We are practically contributing to the APEC project activities in promoting climate-related agenda. In October last year, we took a lead in preparing a study on the interoperability of the green finance frameworks in the region. This is very time we seek to address the precision of measuring the GHG's emissions and examine how satellite could fix its imperfections. Russia has always been an active player in the APEC family. We believe that the forum should stay as an incubator of ideas regionally and globally. The path to the prosperous Asia-Pacific that is ASEAN-centric, results-oriented and responsive to the needs of people could be realized only through cooperation, common spirit and joint effort. I am delighted by the high participation and dedication of APEC members and the Secretariat to this endeavor. I wish you all the best in this undertaking and assure of my support as the APEC senior official in driving forward the outcomes from this process. From this perspective, the Roundtable will become a step towards our main goal, building an open, dynamic, resilient and peaceful Asia-Pacific community by 2040 for the prosperity of all our people and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we definitely thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the enormous support that they grant to us throughout the APEC process and in particular organization of this roundtable. Now we are moving to the first thematic block of our today's roundtable. These are the presentations on behalf of international organizations. And first of all, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Eduardo Pedrosa, who is Executive Director of APEC Secretariat. Just a couple of words prior to us switching to the video recording on behalf of Mr. Eduardo Pedrosa. The colleague has long been the Secretary General of the Pacific Economic Cooperation Council and has indeed demonstrated deep understanding of macroeconomic trends, one of them being integration of climate change aspects, whether this be bioeconomy, circular economy, or green economy, into the economic planning in the region. So we are indeed heartily welcoming these address.
Distinguished colleagues, esteemed representatives from APEC economies, international organizations, the private sector, and academia. It is an honor to join you for this important roundtable on space-based solutions for monitoring greenhouse gas emissions. Let me begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to the Ministry of Economic Development of the Russian Federation and the APEC Policy Partnership on Science, Technology and Innovation for convening this timely discussion. The need for strong regional cooperation in climate science, technological innovation, and data-driven policymaking has never been more pressing. The Asia-Pacific is home to some of the world's largest economies and fastest growing urban centers. With this dynamism comes a significant responsibility. APEC economies account for nearly 60% of global energy demand and more than half of the world's carbon dioxide emissions. Many economies in our region have set ambitious net zero targets, but turning commitments into action requires accurate, transparent, and reliable emissions data. This is where satellite-based monitoring offers a game-changing opportunity. Traditional emissions tracking relies on ground-based sensors and facility-level reporting, which, while valuable, often leave gaps in coverage. Space-based solutions provide independent, real-time data, offering an unprecedented level of detail on emissions from industrial facilities, transportation networks, and even natural resources like wildfires and deforestation. This capability enhances transparency, strengthens compliance with environmental regulations, and enables more informed decision-making. The focus of this roundtable strongly aligns with APEC's broader commitments to sustainability and innovation. The APEC Future Drive Vision 2040 emphasizes the need for digital and technological advancements to drive inclusive and sustainable economic growth. Similarly, the Aotearoa Plan of Action reinforces our commitment to climate resilience, clean energy, and low carbon transitions. The PPSTI has long played a pivotal role in harnessing innovation to address pressing regional challenges. By advancing discussions on satellite based emissions monitoring, we are not just investing in technology, we are laying the groundwork for policies that support cleaner and more sustainable economies across APEC. While satellite technology provides the tools, it is policymakers who must ensure that emissions data translates into meaningful action. A critical question that emerges from this discussion is how we can transform space-based monitoring into concrete policy actions. To fully harness space-based emissions monitoring, APEC economies must work together in 5 key areas. First, enhancing data sharing agreements is critical. Climate change is a regional and global challenge, and no single economy can address it alone. A more coordinated approach to emissions data collection and standardization will allow economies to develop better climate policies and mitigation strategies. Second, capacity building is essential to ensure that all APEC economies can benefit from these technologies. Developing economies in particular need access to training, technical assistance, and partnerships that enable them to integrate space-based data into their policy-making processes. Third, greater engagement with the private sector and research institutions will be crucial in transforming raw data into actionable insights. Many technology companies and universities are developing advanced analytics tools that process emissions data into user-friendly formats for policymakers. APEC economies should strengthen collaboration with these stakeholders to ensure that space-based monitoring tools are not just available, but effectively utilized. Fourth, collecting and monitoring data to support reducing greenhouse gas emissions requires a wide range of technologies that could be promoted through trade initiatives. Trade liberalization is one of the pillars of APEC since inception, and there have been initiatives and projects within APEC in this area contributing towards the production and use of these technologies, such as the APEC list of environmental goods agreed in 2012, the year when Russia hosted APEC, which reduced tariffs on some instruments to monitor and analyze greenhouse gas emissions as well as air pollution control goods to 5% or less. Fifth, work should take place not just on eliminating tariffs, but also non-tariff barriers restricting trade. Export and import formalities and quantity restrictions are the most widely recognized barriers to trade in goods reducing GHG emissions. In addition, diverging technical regulations could represent an impediment to trade. APEC could promote initiatives to align technical regulations and implement conformity assessment procedures to facilitate trade in goods reducing GHG emissions. APEC could take a leading role in promoting good regulatory practices in the application of the standards for new emerging technologies. The work being done through this initiative underscores APEC's long-standing commitment to leveraging technology and innovation to address global challenges. Monitoring greenhouse gas emissions is not just about collecting data, it is about ensuring that economies have the tools they need to make informed, evidence-based decisions that drive real progress on climate action. I want once again to congratulate the Russian Federation and the PPSTI for organizing this important discussion. As APEC economies move forward towards net zero emissions, space-based monitoring will be an invaluable tool in ensuring that our climate goals are met with transparency, accountability, and efficiency. I encourage all participants today to consider how we can translate these discussions into concrete steps for cooperation, data sharing, and policy integration. APEC has always been a platform for voluntary cooperation, and through this initiative, we have an opportunity to build a more resilient, and sustainable future. Thank you, and I look forward to the insights and outcomes from today's discussions.
Thank you once again. It was a pleasure to receive the address on behalf of Mr. Eduardo Pedrosa. And in fact, as you've already noticed, we are starting to get answers to the assumptions that I've made in the very beginning of the today's roundtable. As has been clearly said and stated by Mr. Eduardo Pedrosa, there is definitely a need and necessity in integrating satellite imagery into climate monitoring systems, into the reporting processes, into the verification processes. Definitely, it would be interesting how APEC could integrate today's roundtable into its long-term strategy, into its long-term activities, including the implementation of bunker goals on BCG economy and the work that has been enlisted in terms of supporting trades in low emissions goods, as well as the work that is done on services. It's my pleasure to move to the next speaker. Well, unfortunately, we couldn't have an opportunity to give the floor to Ms. Arti Holomani, Director of United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, because she got sick. But we are extremely lucky to have an alternate speaker on behalf of UNOSA, Mr. Hamid Mahmoud, who is the head of UN SPIDER Beijing office. This is the United Nations platform for space-based information for disaster management and emergency response. So we would be grateful if you share UNOSA experience in conducting UN SPIDER missions throughout this whole cycle of disaster management. How useful do you find remote sensing, communication, navigation satellites? Probably also a couple of words on your behalf in terms of space for climate projects. Do you see some crucial deliverables as of now? What are the prospects? And we definitely welcome your views on how cooperation could move forward in terms of APEC or probably broader beyond the region. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Distinguished delegates, honored guests, and colleagues. First and foremost, please accept our sincere apologies that Mr. Holomani could not attend us today due to her health reasons. She sends her warmest regards and heartfelt wishes for a successful and productive roundtable. And allow me to begin by extending our gratitude to the organizers of today APEC Roundtable and to the esteemed speakers and participants who have taken the time to join us. We especially appreciate the Ministry of Economic Development of the Russian Federation for facilitating this, I would say, a critical discussion, considering the urgency and urgency of the action required. It's an honor for me to step in and share USA's perspective on how space-based solution can strengthen our, I would say, collective efforts in GHG monitoring. Ladies and gentlemen, I would be sharing a few key areas where USA plays a vital role in advancing space-based GHG monitoring. So at USA, we recognize that the urgency of improving the GHG emission monitoring and the need for more accurate and I would say real-time data to inform climate policies across APEC region. This is critical. And we believe that the space-based technology are a game changer in this regard. They provide comprehensive data that overcome the limitation of traditional bottom-up approaches that we know. As the UN focal point on space affairs, UN-USA is committed to leveraging international cooperation, capacity building, and technical assistance so that all APEC economies can integrate satellite-derived data into their environmental strategies. A critical component that I would like to highlight, and as part of USA's mandate, is to foster collaboration among space agencies, governments, and research institutes. And through these strong partnerships with agencies worldwide, we aim to help APEC economies gain early access to data from new GHG monitoring missions, which are either in process of being designed or in the test phase. Additionally, our Access to Space for All program, it offers technical advisory services, workshops, and training to ensure that the satellite data collected is effectively integrated into national GHG inventories. USA also promotes a coordinated approach to data sharing, helping to reduce duplication and harmonizing emission reporting methodologies throughout the region. With over 30 regional support offices, which we call as RSOs around the world, USA is well positioned to build capacity in GHG monitoring and satellite data processing. These RSOs train agencies and institutions on analyzing and integrating satellite-derived data into climate policies and national inventories. These RSOs also assist with developing an interoperable monitoring system, ensuring consistency in reporting across borders. Another thing that I would like to share is that USA has conducted more than 55 technical advisory missions to help the countries integrate space-based technologies into disaster risk reduction and environmental monitoring. And these missions can be tailored specifically for GHG monitoring, offering in-depth training on emission monitoring technologies and supporting in aligning policies with space-derived data. By focusing exclusively on GHG data integration, these TAMs, technical advisory missions, help economies improve emission tracking, data flow, and real-time monitoring solutions. Now, I would like to share some of the new initiatives that USA is taking, and I think they are a little bit relevant to today's discussion as well. One of the persistent challenges in GHG monitoring is processing the vast volume and velocity of data generated by satellites. USA is actively supporting data innovations to address this, including the use of GeoAI, that's the Geo Artificial Intelligence, to automate large data sets, to increase the accuracy as well as to accelerate the trend analysis. We have started using digital twins to create real-time virtual models of Earth emission, allowing policymakers to simulate potential outcomes of various strategies. And then we were using traditional AI-powered modeling and forecasting to predict future emissions trends and evaluate the impact of mitigation policies. We believe that by integrating AI-based solutions, APEC economies can reduce uncertainties in their emission inventories and strengthen overall climate governance. Another exciting development is the establishment of the Earth Observation Procurement Secretariat. We call it EOPS, which we often describe as the Netflix of satellite images. Through EOPS, USA seeks to negotiate multi-user license agreement with commercial providers. So the UN agencies and member states, including APEC economies, can access high-quality Earth observation data without incurring duplicative costs. And EOPS will offer a single platform that integrates data from multiple sources, supporting real-time monitoring of emissions and responding promptly to the environmental changes. We must acknowledge that several challenges persist in GHG monitoring across the APEC region, including limited access to high-quality data, differing measuring methods, and policy integration hurdles. USA is committed to addressing these through facilitating open access Earth observation dialogue among the space agencies, environmental ministries, and research institutes. We plan to support the joint data sharing initiatives to harmonize methodologies and strengthen the reporting accuracy. And we also we are committed to providing technical support and capacity building programs to ensure that the space-based tracking translates into concrete climate policies. In closing, let me reaffirm that the space-based technologies are essentials for building a real-time comprehensive understanding of greenhouse gas emissions. Together, we can enhance our capacity for data-driven policy decisions that I would say truly reflect and respond to the urgency of the climate crisis. USA remains fully committed to working side by side with APEC economies, offering data sharing mechanisms, capacity building opportunities, and integration of data innovations to make a space-based solutions a cornerstone for climate resilience and sustainability. I thank you for all of you for this opportunity to present our work here, and I look forward to the insights and collaboration that will emerge from this roundtable. On behalf of Ms. Holamiani and the entire USA team, we appreciate the opportunity to contribute to this vital discussion, and we stand ready to support APEC's steps towards sustainable and low carbon future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and you've had a very difficult task of trying to cover all the aspects of UNOSA work, which is so multifaceted in one presentation. Thank you for doing this in such a brilliant manner. Probably being a moderator, I am allowed to ask a question prior to us moving to the Q&A session. My question would be, based on your experience, understanding, and you do have this broader view on all the capacities that countries possess, would you say that which of three components you believe to be more important now? Innovation, collaboration, or financing? Innovation, I mean, in terms of more programs, missions, public, private, or hybrid are needed, more sensors have to be elaborated and put there into orbit, because we understand that we are speaking about particular sorts of technical features that have to be fulfilled for us to monitor GHG emissions. Do you believe that it's more about collaboration, that we do not have common access to data, or is it about financing that, for instance, developing economies just do not have an opportunity to? Which one is more important in your view?
That's an excellent question, and my answer would be that we should not pick any one of these. We need all of these for an ideal solution that can accelerate or be the catalyst that is required. Because if we only rely on, for example, innovation or finance, then the other two would be missing, and then the tricycle will not be complete. So we'll be just trying a one-wheeler bicycle. So to move forward, we need to make sure that we focus on all three, because all of these things bring in that their own element, which are critical to find the right solution. So that's our take. I mean, even when we're developing solutions at USA, we make sure that the innovation capacity and the finance all are there. Because if you only focus on innovation, that does not translate into a policy outcome or a decision-making tool. So yeah, all three are really important, and we need to focus on all three. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. This is a good starter. We'll listen to the rest of presentations. Probably more questions will come from the audience. And thank you so much once again. Colleagues, my suggestion is to give the floor to Mr. Sanjay Srivastava, Chief of the Disaster Risk Reduction Office at the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. I'm aware that you have a lot to present today, including ESCAP Regional Space Applications Program for Sustainable Development. So please, the floor is yours. We are all ears to your experience and recommendations for the region. Mr. Sanjay.
Hello, colleagues. Can you hear me? I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible. Thank you.
You can also see my slides.
Yes, we also see the slides on the screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. Thank you for giving this opportunity to ESCAP. This presentation is from a demand side. Why monitoring GHG emission in a PEC from a space-based solutions so critical for a resilient and sustainable future? If I bring to you, can someone run the slides from your side? I think there is some problem here.
Definitely, my colleague will. Thank you.
Yeah. The next one. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, as I mentioned to you, this is a presentation from the demand side. Why is so critical a space-based solution for CGS emissions? Why it is so critical? Because this emissions holds the key for the sustainability and resilience worldwide, and more so in Asia and Pacific region. You look at the progress of Sustainable Development Goal over the years from 2015 onwards, and you see one particular goal in red colored, the left-hand side that is regressing is SDG 13. This is the goal related to climate action. And from 2015 onwards, it continues to regress at an alarming trend. Because of the regression, rest of the goals are also lagging behind. Why this goal is so important? Because it's directly related to the mitigation target, the mitigating climate change, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. On the other hand, adapting to the impact means building resilience to the climate-related hazards. So monitoring this goal, addressing the goal is so critical, and that's where greenhouse emission is so important for the resilient future. My next slide is going to share with you from this region. If you see how much is the emission taking place, this is just to give you a context and a background. From this region, what we call the gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent, you see the different scenario that has been presented by one of the SCAP analysis. So countries are monitoring quite well whether they are on the track of addressing the emission targets. So emission target country has linked with their net zero commitment many of their NDC, nationally determined contribution. So it's a critical requirement for sustainable development. My next slide is going to share with you what is that UN is doing. My colleague Hamid spoke about UNOSA. Let me tell you here, Asia Pacific, there is a coalition, what we call issue-based coalition of the UN agencies. Many agencies working on climate action, that is goal 13, including ISCAP. So my next slide is going to tell you what is that UN system in Asia Pacific has captured, particularly under the umbrella of issue-based coalition. You see, the main focus is to raise the ambitions of country on climate action. That's the key, and that is where we need monitoring CGS emission with a space-based solution. You see, these are some of the snapshots which have captured from the ground to educate the country to address the emission target. Then my next slide is to share with you some of the very compelling reasons which drives countries' policy actions on emission of the greenhouse gases. That most of the country, particularly in Asia Pacific regions, are quite vulnerable. So the voices of the vulnerable are climate and poverty, climate and innovation, the point which we are trying, which is more important. Innovation is one which is coming even from the voices. Then consumption, production. And the next slide, if I want to tell you, it's just a mosaic of what is coming from the whole Asia Pacific region, but which makes a very compelling requirement for monitoring CGS emission from a space-based solution. You see the mosaic. It's directly fundamentally related to economic, social, and environmental ambitions of the country, of the regions. My next slide is to share with you what ISCAP has been doing. ISCAP has a program, Regional Space Applications Program for Sustainable Development in Asia Pacific. We call this RESAP. This is aligned with UniSpace Plus 50. I think we were the first regional commission who had a action plan, regional action plan for sustainable development. My next slide is going to share with you what those actions plans are all about. Those actions plans are very well aligned with sustainable development goals. You see the number of actions that came out from Asia Pacific action plan on on space applications, quite a bit on natural resource management. There's a huge demand on natural resource management. And as you are aware, this is also an area of the emission, particularly the methane emission, nitrous emission. So natural resource management followed by disaster risk reduction, climate change. So these are the area where the demand from the region comes from to take space applications forward. My next slide is going to tell you one of the very recent ministerial conference that was last year. Hamid was part of our team that time. It was in Indonesia, Brain. Here, what we call a space plus means you use a space along with other digital frontier technology to make it much more effective, contextual, and what we call more innovative. So the voice from the region is a space plus, leverage innovative digital applications, and then many data science which are emerging fast. My next slide is going to tell you some few examples what we are doing as far as emission, CGS emission is concerned. One such example is the Pandora spectrometer instrument. This is from the Korean satellite, the global in the GEMS, which has been populated in all these countries listed, Bangladesh, Cambodia to Indonesia, Laos, PDR. You see, we could able to take this emission target from a space at country level, and that has been quite helpful, particularly for O3, NO2, C2O monitoring. And this essentially contributes to address the massive pollution issue which Asia Pacific region is confronting with. My next slide is to tell you at another example. I think Hamid was part of it, to take it to the young, to the youth. You can just go to the next season. You see the partnership with Gista, partnership with Brand, with Unitar, Estra, all agencies with APEC member countries. We are taking a space-based solutions forward. My next slide is going to tell you particularly from Indonesia, this is how we can use this for localizing sustainable development goal. This is a very fast emerging area coming up. So space-based solution plays an important role. The next slide is to tell you on the Mekong River Basin, rice, which is related directly to methane, a space-based solution put to use for rice monitoring, vis-a-vis contributing to the methane emission. The next slide is again using the many space-based systems from the Russian Federation. We have been using for drought monitoring in Central Asia. The subsequent slide, yes, I want to pin down my last 3-4 slides to invite your attention that if we want CGS monitoring directly to be linked with the policy actions, whether it is a mitigation, adaptation, and loss and damage, we need to address most of the countries worldwide, thanks to the climate summit, COP. There are policies, mitigation, which all of you are aware of, policies adaptation, also policies on loss and damage and addressing residual risk. So policies are on emergency to irreversible loss and damage to adaptation and mitigation. All this are a very large extent related to CGS monitoring and accounting. The point which I just wanted to flag, if you take how you can avert the climate-related disaster, it can only be averted by bridging mitigation gap, that is to reduce hazard intensity. And for this, you need to monitor CGS emission. My next slide is to share with you one very important examples, which I thought I must flag to the APEC member country. That is the Asian glaciers and CGHS. This is something which has been unmitigated issue, and in present context, it's a alarmingly serious issue. The melting of the Asian glaciers, the third pole. Now this is also contributing to greenhouse emissions. Like glacier meltdown and groundwater springs are transporting large volumes of methane from beneath the ice to the atmosphere. This is a phenomena which were never received the attention of science community in the past, but it's becoming much more critical. My next slide is to tell you, this is particularly from Arctic to Himalaya. If you look at the relationship between Arctic to Himalaya through the glaciated hazards, these are all interlinked. And to establish this interlink, we need to have a very precise, a spatial accounting of greenhouse gas emission from the space platform. So this is a teleconnections between Arctic to Himalaya, and which is a very important area of research which could be taken up. My next slide is to share with you why CGS is so important, particularly from Arctic to Himalaya CGHS monitoring, because the aerosol loading is so huge. And there are many of the CGHS which is intensifying because of the melting and a large changes in land use land cover pattern, including the dust and sandstorms, which is now impacting the glaciers. So all put together is making Himalayan, Asian glaciers from Arctic to Himalaya a new emerging risk hotspots. So my next slide, which could be on the drivers of the risk, which are a new drivers of the risk across the mountains, the glaciated Asian mountains, unless we take into account the CGHS emission from a space-based solution, we will neither able to address the drivers of the risk nor able to mitigate their impact downstreams, thousands kilometers away. Hazard is somewhere, impacts are somewhere else, and this is where CGHS emissions is so critical. So my next slide, which establishes a regional cooperations among the country, apart from the cooperation of a spacefaring country through RECEP, which I highlighted. This is another example of third pole countries, the Hydrometeorological Agency led by China, Pakistan, India, and then there are many knowledge partners which are APEC member countries working together in the third pole, addressing some of the new risk hotspot of the glaciated Asian mountains. My next slide, I think probably is the last slide. The next one, please. This is the last slide. What I wanted to flag, the CGHS monitoring is an integral way of pathways for adaptation and resilience. The whole world, from global to local, is now following a certain pathways in some way or others. That's the pathway of adaptation and resilience. So putting in place CGSS monitoring with a space-based solutions will do a big contributions, particularly in the riskier times when you can see the impact everywhere, and more so, which I highlighted, I flagged, glaciated Asian mountains, which are warming much more, in many cases, to 1.5 times more than the plains. So, which creates a new risk hotspots. So, thank you very much. So, this is one of the priority area which I thought I must flag to the audience. Thank you very much again for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you for such an informative presentation. And beyond the fact that it was truly interesting to go through your logic in terms of what demand exists for the supply to come. It was interesting to hear the reference to one of the most crucial points in terms of our national strategy, climate strategy. This is the request for just energy transitions and the reference that it's not only about environmental dimension, it's also about socio-economic issues, and these shall be considered in one bunch. And definitely every country, every economy shall look into its national circumstances first, and then define its energy track, energy transition track. Taking this opportunity, I would like to ask you, if I may, on let be one, or if I may, two slides that you've shown. The first one was on the Pandora spectrometer. This is the instrument that was shared among the ASEAN members, and it's installed in 7 countries. My question was, could you please just share how this process or this initiative was organized? I mean, who was the initiator? Was ESCAP an kind of umbrella office for this initiative? Just to understand whether we could probably scale up this initiative and come up with our own solutions. So who was the initiator? How just it is organized? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think my friend, if Hamid is still there, he knows better. This was from Korean government. When they launched this GEM satellite, I think it's thanks to the Korea Space Agency. They recognize this is RESAP Space, Regional Space Applications Program, which has a huge potential, particularly to take some of the space-based solutions forward. So it was from the Korean government support. ISCAP provided the platform with, you have seen in the slides, with the GISTA, with the BRAIN, with all the space agency, particularly from the ASEAN country. They were all on board to take this Pandora instrument forward. So ISCAP was basically a platform. The technology, know-how, even the financial resources came from the government of the Korea, and we take it forward. But the best thing that ISCAP did, which I always feel proud of, is that time there was a Asia Pacific plan of action, particularly on combating air pollution. So among the many interventions on air pollution, one of the intervention was monitoring the transboundary sources of the air pollution. So this Pandora instrument played a very, very important role to capture those transboundary sources of the air pollution. And that is how we use science to inform the policy on air pollution and also bring the cooperation among the country. If I'm missing any point, Hamid, over to you in your previous role.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. I think you covered everything. Just to give you a little bit of more technical details, I think I can only talk about the technical stuff. So these boxes were initially or originally installed to make sure that we can validate the GEMS data. The initial purpose was for validation. And in Korea, there were multiple partners who were supporting different part of the project. For example, the Pandora boxes came from NIR, the Institute for Environment. And then like Sanjay said, that the GEM data was coming from the sport by the KOICA itself. In terms of champions in the region, if you want to check out somebody who has excelled in the use of Pandora as well as GEMS data, then GISTA is the champion right now. They have actually developed good data analysis model as well, and then they were able to do the vertical calibrations as well. But then there are upcoming countries like Vietnam, PhilSA, the Philippine Space Agency, as well as BRAIN. But like Sanjay said, it was a collaborative effort, and if you want to pick up a good practice of South-South collaboration, this is one of them. That an innovative data set was used, a local capacity was built, and then ESCAP was the bridge over here. So I mean, this is one of the projects I do quote when we talk about going back to your earlier question that which one should you pick, innovation, finance, or capacity? And again, this project is that a thing that covers all three. If you remove finance, the innovation was there, the Pandora was there, gems were there, everything would fall apart. So this is an application of the tricycle I was talking about.
I see the whole complementarity of all the elements, total fit.
Yeah.
That's truly interesting. I believe that this is the best practice for us to look deeper into. Probably you would also comment upon. I have the second question, and then we'll move to the next speaker. There was also piloting of the program on building institutional capacity for using these spatial temporal data in local SDGs monitoring and reporting. And pilot cities, as mentioned on the slide, were Bandung, Indonesia, then Songkhla, Thailand. Again, my question would be a very technical one because we want to understand the scheme, how it works, and how, for instance, Russian side could involve in this process, who was the initiator, and then how it came into existence. Probably just a couple of words.
Yes, if I refer this to Hamid in his previous
Okay.
role, I think Hamid, over to you.
I can okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Sanjay. So both of these projects were under the China ESCAP cooperation program. So this is the CECP. Both of these projects were funded under that, but in the interesting part was that the need was coming from the countries. For example, in Songkhla, to monitor the Songkhla Lake Basin, that need was specifically highlighted by the Prince of Songkhla University, that's in Songkhla. And in Indonesia, it was Brain who highlighted the mapping of slums in Makassar and Bandung. So based on those needs, we developed those projects. And then again, the focus of those projects was that in the innovative technology should be used. So there's a big component of AI in there. The interesting part was that because of the success of these projects, right now, there's a phase 2 running right now. In phase 2, they are implementing projects in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Uzbekistan. And in phase 3, they're bringing back Thailand and Indonesia. So it's a continuous process. You don't stop at the end of phase 1 of the project. You keep on going, you keep learning from the exercise. So yeah, I mean, the reports are available online, the project reports, very interesting work that has been done. And both the projects have turned into journal papers. So there was actual science that was happening at the back end. So yeah, if you need more details, I'll be happy to share the link to the reports as well as the journal papers.
Thank you so much. It would be indeed useful. And to summarize this block and go to the economist experience, it's really interesting to learn how international institutes are communicating with each other. And I see these references that you make to each other versus CAP and now UNOSA. And you understand that there was the previous position that you took. So this is great that we witness such a high level of communication between diverse platforms and that there is such a complementarity. Yes, sure, Sanjay, please.
Yeah, just one additional information. What I saw personally in India, they have developed what they call they call SDG index. I think India is one among the few country which has developed SDG index at what they call district level. You have country, you have provinces, within the provinces you have districts, and now they could able to use with the backdrop of satellite images, the district which has a very high risk, whether it was a flood, it was a tropical cyclone, and vis-a-vis their SDG index number, the SDG performance. And those districts were identified based on their SDG ranking. And India has developed a SDG acceleration framework on the basis of identifying this district where SDG indicators are quite poor. And with the satellite background, they identified the causative factor why SDG is so poor in those districts. So many of the policy interventions, the investment in those areas where SDG is lagging behind, they are far below the national average SDG or provincial average SDG. So, the satellite images over the years, which provides a background, what this district was, what it is now, what progress it is making. So the progress in natural resources or physical infrastructure is captured from multi-date satellite imagery. And this, we feel a very innovative use of taking SDG not at country level, but down the line. Thank you.
And this is truly important for us to organize these economic planning and adjust climate policies at the level of the regions and sub-regions. This is truly important for all the economies. Otherwise, how we will fulfill our obligations, our commitments that we've taken. Thank you so much. I'm glad to move now to the economies related block of our conversation. First of all, please let me give the floor to Ms. Munitfor Kitratporn, geoinformatics scientist at the Geoinformatics and Space Technology Development Agency, GISDA, Thailand. So my question would be probably several words on the approach to measuring, mapping GHG emissions, sources and fluxes on a local or regional level. How do you ensure that policymakers are informed and able to access and fully utilize existing observation capabilities? So please, the floor is yours.
First, thank you so much for inviting GISDA to be part of this roundtable. And we are also exploring the utilization of space technology and data in observing, monitoring, reporting, and verifying the GHG emission as well. So just to give a background, I hope you can see my slide. Okay, so GISDA is a space agency of Thailand. So we have two main parts. We have part that we are working on the satellite mission, right? And another part is working on the applications. So for us, we are now just starting to build our own satellite, and now we are have a plan to launch more. For now, we have two satellites that already launched, and mainly is an optical satellite. But we are planning to add more SARs and also other very high resolutions to that. And with the satellite data, we analyze and make the data become value-added information to answer mainly three solutions, that is including water management, natural resources, urban and economic, social and security, disaster management, and agriculture. So for GHG monitoring, there are kind of a bit here and there in all the solutions that we do. But if we look into the satellite data that we can use for GHG, very unfortunate for now, we still don't have the know-how to build our own satellite to cover those monitoring part for the GHG. So we are using other satellite missions that are available. For example, for the carbon dioxide, there are several ones. For the methane, also there are many, right? There are one for area-based mapping and one for point source mapping. So we are also exploring the use of these different satellites. And mainly now we are trying to build a use case for three main sectors, that including agriculture, land use change, forest, and waste. So I will move on to give you some example and use case that we are doing in terms of the national MRV for the greenhouse gas emissions. So how GISDA as a space agency are fitting into this national inventory. So for in Thailand, there are established structure in doing this national reporting. And for us, we are providing more of the data to support the main stakeholders, right? So for us, now we are having involved in the agriculture sector, especially in the rice cultivations, because in rice cultivations, when there's inundation similar to peatland or permafrost, so you have this kind of methane emission that's coming from the inundation of rice and the growing of vegetations. We're also working on the fuel burning. So after harvesting, there's a residual that are left in the field, and the common practice is to burn them. So we are trying to see whether we can detect a burn area and calculate it as activities and convert it into emissions, right? Now we also work on the forest change detection. So we are working on the stock part of the carbon dioxide. So if we have more area that are like a green area with the standing vegetations, like a perennial type of vegetations, we can have an absorption of carbon dioxide. So we're working on both of that emission and absorptions. So there are some established role for a space agency, and we are very lucky in Thailand that there is this kind of structure. So we are officially part of this inventory. So I will give one example that are focusing on agriculture. So if we look in at the greenhouse gas emission by sector of Thailand, most of them are still in energy, but also the second most emitted sector is agriculture. And when we look at agriculture, rice cultivation dominate more than half of that, right? So we are working with our stakeholders in the Ministry of Agriculture to see whether there's a possibility of using remote sensing to monitor rice cultivations and the emissions from the activities. So when we looking at these emissions, mostly we are not directly observing this because emission from rice, the rate of emission is low, but we can observe the activities that are occurring in the field. So basically what we need is an area of cultivations. We need the durations of cultivations. Then we need to identify the emission factors. And for the emission factor is based on the water regimes, whether the water is being flooded in the field or not. And we explore that it's likely possible to monitor that with satellite. Right. So of course, if you are working in satellite-based agriculture monitoring, you will know that we can definitely map rice planting area using satellite. We can also detect the cultivation durations or the phenology of rice, and that will give us the first two data that we need, right? And with more data available, we can monitor that almost every 2 weeks per se, right? Then now we look in at the water regimes. There are also technologies in the SAR part of the spectrum that we can penetrate the canopy and see below the rice canopy whether there's a possibility of water inundations in the field or not. This we can try to see every 14 days whether the field is flooded. Then during the whole rice cultivation period, we can see how many times based on the observations, the rice field is flooded. And that can be linked back to the emission factors. Right? So we can see whether every time we monitor is always flooded, or maybe the 8 times that we monitor, 1 time is drained, or there's more. So with the more higher number of times that the field is drained, then we have less emissions basically, right? And we have some pilot locations that we are working on in one province of Thailand, and now we are expanding it to 6 provinces to see whether this is something our stakeholders are interested in. And with that, we can calculate the emissions, right, in kilogram of methane per area, or the concentrations for the whole cropping seasons. And to make it more accessible to our stakeholders and decision makers, we create like a platform to summarize like a dashboard for them to understand what is going on in the area, right? So we can see how much of the areas is have different types of flooding in rice field, and how much is being emitted in each field. So with the summary, and this can be customized based on the requirements of the stakeholders, then it will help them to understand which area they should focus on. And this is another example of what we are doing. So we are trying to integrate the satellite observation with our ground sensor. And this is a different approach where we're trying to understand directly the flux of the greenhouse gas and see whether this can be linked with the activity on the ground. So this is an example where we monitor the land use, land cover, and its activity within a year and intra-year, and use our institute measurement like a flux tower and try to see the change every month of what is going on in the area, whether it's emitted some greenhouse gas, in this case is carbon dioxide, or it is absorbing, right? So at the end of the year, we can have a net exchange to see whether this is overall is emitted or absorbed. And another example that we are exploring, this is more outside of agriculture sector. This will be in a waste sector. And this is more on a verification, because usually in a landfill management, there will be some sensor that is required to install by the company already. But we are looking into a point source monitoring, whether that can help we ensure that the reported data is actually aligned with what we see by satellite observations. And all of this are still quite new for us as well. And but we see the great opportunities that this can be utilized. So from our experience working with a lot of our stakeholders in different sectors, so there's 3 C's that we are identified that is very critical. One is collaboration. So we involve the stakeholders very early on so that we can understand the opportunities in the sectors and the challenges that they are having. And we will directly and clearly share with our users so they are aware of the technology that we are using and its limitations. So satellite data is not a magic thing, you know, it doesn't answer everything. So we're trying to let our user know what are the limitations, and when we aligned whether this type of technologies can answer their questions. Another thing is communications. So we are trying to analyze, provide an analysis ready data at the back of our platform, so that in case in the future they want to be able to understand and look at the data themselves, they don't have to go through all the tedious thing or the technical things. It should be ready for them in the format that they can use. And also we are trying to ensure that we develop value added information that address specific questions that they need. It will be similar to the dashboard that I presented, right? So this really depends. If you are from agriculture department and you are from waste sector, like waste management company, you will need different pictures. You want different summary, and we need to prepare that for them. And the last C will be in the confident. So we want to make sure that we are transparent in providing quantitative performance. They might not know that they need it, but we will prepare that. In case that will be part of the MRV, this will be very important piece of information so that it can be accepted in the national inventory. So we need to provide accuracy as well as uncertainty of the data. And last, I want to talk a little bit about the prospect of the regional corporations. Right? So I'm from a space agency. So there's something I see that we are still need, and that is more space missions with open and affordable data access. There's a lot of data now, and there's a lot of startup company that providing this, but it's still coming with some difficulty in accessing the data, or the paywall that the government or the small country like Thailand or Southeast Asia is very difficult to afford. Right? And one more thing for the space agency that we need is a capacity building. If also we can have a technical advice, this will be similar to what Hamid is talking about, that his organization provide technical advice, and that is what we also need in building the payload or understanding how to process or analyze the data better. And also for the decision maker, I think it's very important that we have some kind of shared platform that we can learn the requirements and explore the use of space-based solutions. Sometimes it's quite difficult to go in as a space agency and ask for the requirements because the decision makers have no idea that there's a possibility of using space-based solutions. So it would be good to have a platform that a space agency or other space-based company can see what are the requirements, so we can match the technology that would be needed. And also, I think it's very important to have a established standardized process in evaluating the readiness of the space-based solutions. Right now, there are a lot of proof of concept. There's a lot of pilot, but we also not sure how can we go forward in meeting the standard required to be part of a national inventory. Sometimes that's something that it can be, I don't know, if it's more established, then we know the steps that it would need to meet the requirement of the decision maker. So I think that's all I have from GISDA. Yes.
Thank you so much, food for thought that you've provided to us. And specifically, thanks for sharing practical cases, I would say case studies, and showing how satellite observations matter when it's about some points for questions like rice cultivation, and the fact that you shown the direct impact of Earth observations for navigating further on the water management processes, and how you could follow up the methane emissions. So it's truly a very descriptive example that you've provided to us. Actually, I have two questions, if I may. The first one was on the methane dashboard that you've shown that the Thailand side has elaborated. It seems that a lot of effort has been put into aggregation of data and visualization. So my question is, has it been the public effort only? Has it been your kind of a consortium work with the institutions, probably some agencies which are in the contour of GSDA. And another sub-question is whether the data, satellite-based data, has been synchronized with the ground-based measurements when you've elaborated this platform. Yes, this will be the first set of questions.
Yeah, sure. So we start this project by working closely with the Rice Department and also agriculture offices. So for the ground data, I will answer the second question first. For the ground data, so we work closely with the Rice Department in collecting the ground data so that we can have a validation as well as a training data set. So for that, we have the integrations with the ground data. And for the visualization part, this project has been ongoing for almost 2 years. So even though it's a small pilot project, it takes a lot of time actually to do the visualizations because sometimes the stakeholders cannot visualize clearly what they need. So there's several trial and errors. So we work mostly with the government agencies that are taking care of reporting this activity to the national level. And we haven't worked with the private company, but this is like a working group that we established specifically for this rice cultivation and methane emissions from rice. So there will be relevant stakeholders for that. Yeah.
So in case it comes to another set of tasks that you've mentioned, including, as far as I remember, you were speaking about that one, about burning fields, right? I mean, will it be another platform or it will be an expansion of the current one?
Yes, it can be both ways. So at first we will present the data separately. Then if this is something that have an interest of the same stakeholders, then we will integrate them. So at the back end, the data is just there in the database per se. And depending on the needs of the stakeholders, we just pick and choose and do the front end visualizations, right? So it can be in the same platform actually. But if the stakeholder is different, for example, we are focusing on rice for this methane emission from rice projects. And of course, there's some fuel burning from rice as well. So it can be integrated. But also we have sugarcane burning in Thailand, and that would be a separate platform. Yeah.
I see, and probably last question. Sorry for a bunch of them, but indeed they raised throughout your presentation. As you've shown, and actually as we are aware, and for instance, Group on Earth Observations accumulates these available missions and applications. Now we are aware that, well, honestly speaking, it's more about US, ESA, Japanese, and Chinese missions that are available. Would you say that it could be a priority for ASEAN, for instance, countries, for Thailand in particular, to elaborate its own instrument, its own payload, or is it okay because many missions provide openly accessible data? Well, some ask paid subscription, some ask and provide partial access. But would you say that we need more missions or we just need to work with the current players?
Yeah, I think the priority is now to work on the existing missions with the data that is available, because I think the interests or the needs of the stakeholder now is to make use of this quickly. So I think the priority is to develop a know-how for us as a technological partners to better process and prepare the data And also for the stakeholder side, I don't know, we need to share with them the opportunity of using this. But at the long run, I think it would be very good that we can develop our own fleet as well. But that would be, I don't think is in the next 10 years, to be honest, in my opinions. So it would be more practical for now to use existing data set.
Thank you. Thank you for such an interesting conversation. Colleagues, my suggestion is to move to another speaker, to the next speaker. On behalf of Russia, we have Mr. Sergei Bartalov, professor and principal researcher at the Russian Academy of Sciences Space Research Institute. As I shared in the opening session, Russia is actively working on the federal climate monitoring system. The work is led by the Federal Service for Hydrometeorology and Environmental Monitoring, and it is accompanied by 50 leading institutes, which comprise more than 800 experts. This project is indeed important for forging our strategies, defining nationally determined contributions and following progress in achieving them. Just general work on maintaining the registry of emissions. So these matters not only for the economic development, but also for such international processes as the establishment of the carbon market. The first stage of this project of creating the climate monitoring system has come to an end. So please, Mr. Sergei Bartalov, share with us what has been achieved and what following steps we are to expect in the coming years.
Thank you very much for introduction and for giving me such opportunity to talk on this important event. And I will be talking on behalf of the Space Research Institute, and we are a research institute working for the developments of many things related to the space, but especially we are working with a big group in our institute working on the Earth observation. And last years, so we are more and more involved in the projects related to the satellite monitoring of terrestrial ecosystem carbon budget and the trace gases in the Earth atmosphere. Let me change. Let me change the slide. Can you see my second slide?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, and I will be focusing on few topics, and especially on the remote sensing method for monitoring of carbon budget in the terrestrial ecosystem, and especially in forest. And I will be talking about the satellite instrument to measure the satellite instrument which we are developing in our institute to measure greenhouse gases in the Earth atmosphere from space, and also for methods for assessing trace gases in the Earth atmosphere, and especially using dynamic data on gas concentration and numerical models of atmosphere circulation. And also, so we are working on the technologies and the information systems for satellite monitoring of our the measurements, using our measurements for carbon budget terrestrial ecosystems and the trace gases in the atmosphere. The method which we developed is based on the remote sensing time series data. Actually, we have the very frequent observations, particularly we're using the daily observations. The all Russia with different satellites like MODIS, VIRS, Landsat, Sentinel, etc. And we're using ground sampling data, which we use for the calibration and for validation of calibration of our algorithms and for calibration of results which we are retrieve from remote sensing data. And using this time series of remote sensing data and ground sampling data, so we apply machine learning methods. There are different machine learning methods which we use. I will not go into too much in the technical details. And through this combination of time series of remote sensing data and representative sampling data, ground sampling data, we retrieve several products on the annual basis. So it means every year we retrieve such products, the maps, like land cover, tree species, growing stock, relative stock, forest site index, forest age, and also we are looking for disturbances like fires and the insects attack and the logging, etc. And using these characteristics of forest and disturbances, we apply different models, and especially we deploy in separate way. We apply these models for undisturbed forest to retrieve biomass, and also for the disturbed forest in different way to retrieve different fractions of the carbon in the forest ecosystems. This fraction I will not go into all each one by one, so you can see on our slide. So this the fractions are related to the living biomass and the dead biomass. So here you can see the examples of products. Such products are retrieved annually, and this is land cover, again, the forest species, growing stock volume. This is site index. It means how good the soil and the climate, I mean, in terms of the forest productivity. Forest age is very important characteristics because the young forest growing faster, the old forest growing slowly. And this is also very important input to our models. And also the such characteristic like forest relative stock. As I already mentioned, we need information about forest disturbances and the fires. One of the major forest disturbances which we should take into account. And again, annually, so we retrieve information about the burned area and also about severity of fires. So in terms of trees mortality. Based on this information, annually we retrieve data on such maps. You can see this map of carbon stock in the forest, in the Russian forest. And you can see in the legend in the European part of Russia, forest is more productive and carbon stock is higher. And the Siberian part and the Far East is less productive forest. And also the very strong gradient in the amount of carbon in carbon stock in the forest ecosystems. Based on our retrievals, so we retrieve such information annually, as I already mentioned, starting from 2002 till 2003. 2023, and this information is already used for the national reporting and the cadastre of greenhouse gases in Russia. And based on our retrievals, you can see the positive trends of carbon stock, which means that the Russian forest has quite significant CO2 uptake during this more than 20 years. And in average, this CO2 uptake is estimated in more than 1.6 million tons a year, which demonstrate quite strong potential of Russian forest to absorb greenhouse gases. So on top of that, so we are working on the developments to have a technical and technical instruments to measure atmospheric greenhouse gases. And not only Earth, because our heritage in our institute is started from the planet missions. So we developed in past several instruments to measure gases, trace gases in the atmosphere of Mars and the Venus. And also we have development related to international space stations. This instrument was called Rusalka. And also now we have active satellite missions for the Mars, which started in 2018 to measure greenhouse gases in the atmosphere of Mars. So for future, so a couple of words about future, the missions and the future developments. So we are working also to develop a so-called Driada instrument, which is going to be installed on the board of international space stations. And this prototype of this instrument is already developed and ready for testing in August 2025. And another instrument, this is still more the plan to develop Driada for the Russian orbital stations, which is similar to Driada 1, which is going to be installed in the International Space Station. So also, so we have a proposal, and it's now under consideration by our government to develop a series of small satellites, so-called Griffon satellites, which is going to be designed to measure CO2 and methane gases concentration in atmosphere. So also based on this, the concentration time series of trace gas concentration maps. So using existing data, especially on concentration of CO, we are developing a method to estimate trace gases fluxes. I mean, this approach is demonstrated here. So the greenhouse concentration maps can be assimilated to atmospheric circulation model to estimate through balance equation fluxes of greenhouse gases. So, and we are demonstrated such possibility based on the existing data for major fires, which we selected in 2018, 2023 in Russia and Canada. And actually, you can see quite good correspondence between the estimates which came up from our developed balance method and the estimates which are given by Global Fire Emission Database. So it's all what I wanted to tell you so far. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and it was surprisingly to listen and to hear that you're also working in the direction of measuring GHG emissions in the atmosphere of Mars. So this is absolutely new to us, but we will definitely follow the progress on this matter. My question would be, you've mentioned primarily the work on forest carbon budget assessment with the use of remote sensing technologies. Are you working on other natural ecosystems too? I mean, are you also working on swamps, on bogs, on steppe? And why have you started the work with the forests?
Okay. Thank you very much for such a good question. Actually, you're right. So we are working not only on forest. We also have some developments related, focused on the assessment of wetlands, bogs, and also grasslands. And also we are looking forward to start working with tundra. But the forest, the few things. The forest is extremely important for Russia because it's the largest forest around the world. So and actually the forest is the main absorber of greenhouse gases, particularly CO2, of course. And the second thing, besides of the fact of the such great importance of Russian forest, is that the forest is much better prepared, let's say in such way, which is to be estimated with satellite data. The forest was prepared through tens of years of field work of Russian foresters, which are collected huge amount of data, really representative data, which can be used in the strong connection to the satellites data. And actually, such two things are, how to say, was driven, was taken into account for take forest as the first priority for our research and development.
I totally agree that the absorption capacity is huge. My second question would be, are you monitoring CO2 or carbon dioxide only, or is it also about methane, nitrous oxide, other gases, or you have like a certain priority? We have specific payloads. Could you please direct us?
When we are working for the atmosphere, of course, so we are focused not only on CO2, so we are working also on the methane and carbon. I don't know English. My English not so fluent as a Russian.
No, it's absolutely okay. I do understand everything.
CO also is, as you can see from the presentation. So we have some examples related not only to CO2. But when we are working on the forest, so we calculate everything to carbon. It's just, when we estimate emissions from fire, of course, we estimated all gases, all particulars, but all of them are anyhow they recalculated to the carbon and to equivalent of CO2. So yeah, but you're right. So we have to look forward to be more specific with different gases. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you for enormous work that you have done, especially within what we call deep gases, or in other words, the important.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot to mention this, but thank you very much.
An umbrella.
that you mentioned. Yeah.
Umbrella of our work. Thank you so much. Colleagues, please let me give the floor to Mr. Rokhis Kamarudin, Professor and Head of the Geoinformatics Research Center at the National Research and Innovation Agency of Indonesia. We welcome you to present the progress of your center in terms of building a comprehensive geoinformatics platform. We are interested which gases, natural ecosystems you cover, which target audience could work with your platform, which tasks could be fulfilled. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Muhammad Rahis Kamaruddin. I'm head of Research Center for Geoinformatics under the National Research and Innovation Agency BRIN Indonesia. And yeah, thank you to invite me to join in the roundtable discussion this afternoon. I would like to talk about the Indonesian space activities regarding the greenhouse gases emission support. Next. Please, next. It's better I try to share. Okay. If we talk about the space activity in Indonesia, there are 5 main activities in our countries. One is regarding the space law and policies, and the second is space education and space frontiers. The third is space application. We talk about the remote sensing for SDGs and also disaster Earth observation. And the fourth of our activities is satellite development. And the last is regarding the space industries. I will focus more on the 2 part of our space activities, on the number 3 and the number 4. Next. We have a program in Indonesia. We call it GeoMimo. GeoMimo is a Geoinformatic Multi-Input, Multi-Output Indonesia. And we will try to gather the lot of satellite imagery supporting by other country, and also we can support by our satellite imagery. And not only the satellite imagery, that we also collect the data from field station, and also from the crowdsourcing, from the other platform, and also from UFE, and also from the Statistical Bureau, and also Bureau of Geospatial. And then we can create it, we call it ready data system. And through our BRIN engine, and we try to collect all model or algorithm, and this BRIN engine can process automatically the data, and then we will have a BRIN product. We will more focus on the 4 products. One is regarding the food security, and the second is environment and disasters, and the third is related to the greenhouses emission, and the last is regarding the security and defense. And we also create the geovisualization with the web, and also GIS and also Android basis, and also we can create the interactive mapping, and our product can deliver to the 4 categories of users. The first user is public user. It is a product for public categories, and also for the second user is dedicated users. It is ministries, bodies, and local government user through the agreement. And the third user is private user. We will implement the license agreement if we have a collaboration with the private user. And the last of user is academia users. It is also internal of BRIN, universities, and also school. And yeah, we hope this product can deliver to 4 of user that I already mentioned. Next. It is for example. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. For the dedicated use, previous.
Previous slide, please.
Previous, before, yes. That is for dedicated user. We will create, for example, API and etc. And our product can be connect directly to the other ministries and body in Indonesia. For example, we also we have a collaboration with the National Disaster Management Agency, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Ministry of Maritime and Fisheries, Bureau of Meteorological and Climatology in Indonesia, and also the other institution in Indonesia. Not only the ministries and body, this dedicated user also we will try to provide the provincial earth monitoring system. We in Indonesia we have right now 34 province, and we try to connect to them and deliver our product to them. It's mean in our system we need a research for the analysis ready data, data processing, for example, for AI, machine learning, and also deep learning, and spatial analysis on spatial modeling, and also the platform development. Next, yeah, in my institution, remote sensing, we try to support the SDGs, but actually we divide it into 3 categories of application. The first is regarding the natural resources. The second is environment and disaster, and other is other strategies. And for the sustainable development goal, we try to support 2, no hunger. For example, for the SDGs number 1, no poverty, we identify a slum area and what is the status of slum area in the cities. I think Hamid already mentioned that we have a project in 2 cities in Indonesia, in Makassar and Bandung. And we support also SDGs number 2, no hunger. No hunger, we try to use remote sensing data to monitor the paddy growth in Indonesia. And we support also SDGs number 3, good health and well-being. We try to monitor what is the current status of the health facilities in Indonesia. And we try to support also SDGs number 6, clean water and sanitation. We try to analyze the water catchment in Indonesia and also the water quality of lake in Indonesia. And we support also SDGs number 7, affordable and clean energy. We have a project with the Indonesian electrical agency, and we support on the surveying of in Papua, Indonesia. And SDGs number 11, we support also for the sustainable cities and communities. We support also for the climate action SDGs number 13. And also we have support to in the life below water SDGs number 14, and also SDGs number 15. Next, please. Yeah, we have for the greenhouse gases, the other country, we call it Space Application for Environment Safe Project. It is a CH4 RISE project. This title project is assessment of methane emission for rice paddy and also water management. The duration is 2023 until 2025. There is a country involved in Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, India, Japan, and also Bangladesh. The outcome is for the climate change mitigation, such as carbon credit, and also water management, and also regional and global sustainable agriculture related initiative activities. And right now we implementation of in each country, we preparing in situ water level and also field survey, and we continue to analyze the data using ALOS 2, Pulsar 2, full polarization data. Next, we have also a project with the UNESCAP participation in crop bio project together with the University of Brawijaya in Indonesia, and we try to make it last.
I'm so sorry. We have a technical.
Hello?
Yeah, but now we do hear you. Could you please say once again what you have shared during the previous minute or so? I mean, in terms of the whole description of this particular project, unfortunately, we lost connection. Let us try
Hello?
once.
Yeah?
Yeah, now we do hear you. Could you please once again
Yeah,
share your insights on this particular slide? Yeah, previously we heard you.
yeah, for the we participate in the crop bio project. This project aims to promote crop diversity in selected Southeast Asia countries through innovative space application. And right now we have a collaboration with UNSCAF and also the University of Brawijaya in Indonesia. And we try to use remote sensing data to make what is land use classification and also land use strategy. Okay, next. We also involved in the supporting for disaster. We are right now as a regional supporting of UN Spider, and we are also as a data analysis node Sentinel Asia. If there is a disaster happen in Indonesia, we can analyze of data before and after disaster, and also we can calculate where is the damage location of based on the disaster. Next, the last slide. I think I will more talk about right now we still on the planning to develop a satellite. We call it the Nusantara satellite constellation. It would be we will develop 4 high-res and also 2 very high-res imaging satellite, and we try to develop 2 synthetic aperture radar and also 10 satellite communication and 1 satellite on global Earth observation. As we still on the planning and also try to find a budget to develop this satellite. And the collaboration would be for this program is a co-development program. If we have a partner in country, we can make a co-development, and then we not only we can build a satellite, but so also we can build our capacity to make a satellite. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you very much. I'm sorry if my connection is not stable.
Thank you so much. No, actually, we learned a lot and heard almost every word that you pronounced. There were just some minor errors, technical errors. Actually, I have 2 questions to clarify what we've seen on the slides. The first one was about RADI data system. You mentioned that you also utilize data from crowdsourcing. What is meant by crowdsourcing? How do you ensure the high quality of this data? Because I can understand high quality resolution, but high quality of data validated by
Yes.
cloud. Yeah.
Yeah, we try to use the data, the crowdsourcing data but we have to select the data, and we have to make a good data. We can use this data, but if not, we can leave it and we cannot use the data. So we still try to make a program that there are a lot of data on the internet. There are a lot of data that we can put in the data. So it's mean after not on after we have that we make a filter of the data, and then we put the data to our we call it ready data system. So if this data
indeed.
ready, then we can use this data for our processings.
This is genuinely a very innovative approach. I haven't heard about it previously, so we will definitely follow how it works out, and this will be interesting in terms of potential good practice for us to apply. My second question would be, as was shared today by Mr. Sanjay Srivastava, he brought up the case of India, saying that they have this SDG index, and actually they use satellite images to follow the progress on particular SDGs within districts. So you mentioned the work that is there on using remote sensing for following the progress in the framework of these provinces. So my question is, do you have some particular visualizations for provinces? Do you have some particular data sets for them? And do you help provinces directly with satellite imagery in forging their further SDG related strategies?
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried. We already developed we call it the Earth observation system in province, and in we support also we support also them with the data of remote sensing, and it's mean we also develop the system that we can see what is the change every year if we using the data. For example, we have a system that we call it devegetation. It is not deforestation, but it's devegetation. If there is a vegetation decrease in their area, we can see what is gradually of every year. We can see the what is devegetation in that province. It is one example for what.
I see, and we had Sanjay Srivastava also wanted to take the floor, right, to comment upon this. I was just bringing your example because it seems we could find some correlations between the experience of India and Indonesia. One's working on districts and Indonesia is working on provinces and this data coverage. Yes, please, Mr. Sanjay Srivastava, if you want to add a couple of words, you're welcome.
Just a couple of words. Here they have created a baseline with satellite data of 2015, and then they start making investment, like for example, in a natural resource management, how many water bodies have been created in a particular province, and then how is the land use particularly has been implemented, a change in the land use been implemented. Those are captured through satellite images and then intersect over the SDG index. It's a composite SDG index which takes into account the investment in natural resource asset building and then how it is manifested in terms of progress to SDG index. So that's how they monitor, like from 15 till 2025, how much investment was made in a particular district, how it contributed to the improvements in SDG index at that particular district. Because those were the districts which were far behind in terms of SDG index. So you have a targeted index, the targeted interventions just to improve the SDG performance in a particular district, and you can monitor this. So government makes it a mandatory provisions. It monitored from the highest level of the government how much allocation has been made in the backward district, those who have poor SDG index, what progress it has achieved in last 10 years. So it brings some kind of a transparency as well as accountability. So that's one of a very unique example of a space applications. And this is what they have done, geotagging, as my colleagues from Indonesia was highlighting, also the crowdsourcing from the ground, from many sources. So there are many ways to validate this. So it has enhanced the transparency and accountability.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Arakis Karmudin, for giving us some, again, food for thought. Today's event is all about food for thought. So yes, thank you once again for putting and highlighting the fact that we could use diverse mechanisms to validate and verify data so that to adjust climate policies in a timely manner. Thank you once again. My pleasure to give the floor to Ms. Daria Chudnaya, CEO of the Russian private company SRCMS, or SR Climate Monitoring System. Daria, we are glad to give you the floor to cover your vision of the state of affairs, touch upon respective missions that are under development by SR Space, and in addition would welcome some news on the climate monitoring platform that you have elaborated to provide space-based analytics to commercial customers.
Yes, hello, dear colleagues. Thank you so much for invitation. So I will ask you to help me with the presentation. And as Evgenia has already told, my name is Daria Chudnaya, and I'm Deputy CEO for Communication in Russian private space company SR Space. And also I'm the head of our branch company, SRCMS, its climate monitoring system. At our holding company, SR Space, we develop ultralight and light launch vehicles, as well as small satellites and service based on space data. Today, I will speak just about SRCMS, climate monitoring system, and this is part of our satellite constellations. So the topic of my short presentation is how to monitor greenhouse gases from space, Russian and international experience. So the next slide, please. Okay, so currently the issue of climate change has become one of the most pressing challenges. And one of the main factors driving global warming is the large volume of greenhouse gas emissions and pollutions released into atmosphere. Anthropogenic and natural emissions are growing rapidly, so the challenge is the challenge of monitoring greenhouse gases is a key priority. So old methods of estimating them aren't very accurate, but the good news is demand for satellite data is rising, and our space tech is getting really precise. The next slide, please. So today, greenhouse gas monitoring relies on three levels. The first one is ground-based systems. So the second one, it is UAVs equipped with spectrometers. We also work with the UAVs. And the third level, it's satellites also equipped with spectrometers. And of course, also there is a simpler way to estimate greenhouse gas emissions called the balanced method. We think that tracking gases from space is a key way to fight climate change. At the moment, a remarkable process is taking place, and the creation of specialized satellite constellation designed specifically for climate monitoring. Around the world, we can point to many notable examples of these initiatives. And of course, the leading representative is the European Union's Sentinel satellite. It's a satellite constellation under the Copernicus program. So the program includes several satellites designed to monitor various environmental aspects, including the atmosphere. And of course, the most well-known is Sentinel-5P, launched in 2017. Among Asian companies, we can point to Chinese satellite constellations such as Fengguan, Gaofen, Daiku, and others. And however, a more advanced Chinese satellite capable of accurately detecting carbon dioxide emissions is Tansat. We also working with our Chinese colleagues. So another notable example of a private satellite constellation is, of course, GHG SAT, and the company currently operates more than, if I'm not mistaken, 10 satellites. GHG SAT demonstrates the successful development of full cycle services, including its own infrastructure for collecting space and data from satellite, and analytical system for determining and forecasting emissions volumes into the atmosphere. There are far more such players today than they were 10 years ago. And maybe you know that the company that called Planet is also moving into this direction. And last year, they announced their intent to advance space-based greenhouse gas monitoring. And according to recent news, the company is working on creating its own hyperspectral satellite constellation as part of an initiative called Carbon Mapper. So talking about Russia, in Russia, the widespread use of satellite monitoring as seen in foreign countries has not yet been fully realized. But however, there are several domestic satellite systems for greenhouse gas monitoring that allow us to track changes in climate process. And these initiatives include the Electro-L satellite constellation. Also, it includes the SMOTR-V satellite that is being developed by Gazprom Space Systems. And also my colleague, Sergei Bartalev, he told you about Driada instrument that will be installed on the International Space Station. And here I can tell you about our satellite, the SAR-CMS satellite. So I will talk about it now. So the next slide, please. So talking about the SAR-CMS project, it is divided into two parts. The first one, it's a service that has been operational since last year. And the second part, it's a satellite with a spectrometer, which we're currently developing. So this satellite is set to become the first in our constellation. So talking about the SAR-CMS service, it's already available at srcms.space. It's free. So there you can view the real-time methane emission data, including a heat map of emissions and emission points. Currently, we source now data from several foreign satellites. It's not our satellites, but in the future, we plan to use data from our own satellites too. So talking about the second part, about our satellites. So our satellite is 80% developed. And talking about the first satellite demonstrator, it is a 3U CubeSat, and its spectrometer has undergone testing. So I can provide technical specification for this satellite separately if you need it or if you're interested in it. So one such satellite fully orbits the Earth in 84 days. With 60 satellites in orbit, the data acquisition time would be reduced to 1.5 days. So the key parameters we considered include, so the first one, it's a list of measured greenhouse gases. Currently, it is methane and carbon dioxide. The second one, it's measurement accuracy. Third one, it's measurement frequency, also localization, also timeliness, coverage area width. So this is the key parameters. So the next slide, please. So here we present market data based on foreign reports. I will not stop on them. The next, please, slide. And the next. And the next. And one more. Okay, so now we have several main areas in Russia that are interested in greenhouse gas emissions. And this is, of course, the government. And this is the oil and the gas sector. This is agriculture, because we work with agricultural companies. And this is also forestry and banking sector, because they deal with climate risks. So in agriculture, the data helps figure out how to cut emissions from farming and make land use more eco-friendly. In cities, satellites monitor air quality and emissions, helping plan greener and cleaner infrastructure. In the oil and gas industry, satellites are super useful for spotting methane leaks. And now we're talking with some Russian companies to test it, especially on these methane leaks. So space-based technologies for monitoring greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere are a vital tool for controlling climate change and combating global warming. So in the conclusion, I want just to say that it must be emphasized that space monitoring technologies are an integral part of modern environmental policy. And this market, according to our global report on remote sensing that we did last year, is growing very actively and it's developing very rapidly. So I think that's all I want to say. Maybe just one thing. I mentioned that we made a special global report on remote sensing. It's really very interesting report, but now we have just in Russian language. But if someone interested in it, we also can send it. So thank you for your attention. The next slide, please. There is my contacts. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, you can write me and I can send you more full presentation for our satellite. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Daria. And definitely we wish you success in achieving the goals, whether it be improving the quality, some parameters of the existing programs, existing platforms, or the launch of the new satellites. We definitely wish you success on this. I have one question which I cannot but ask you. Speaking about prospects for cooperation in APEC, which areas you believe need to be tuned? I mean, if we speak about public-private cooperation in APEC, private B2B cooperation, which areas you believe have to face a larger extent of communication between actors? Do you need some support in some areas? Not being very probably detailed about the specifics of the industry as such, but if we speak about GHG monitoring from space.
Yes, thank you so much for your question. I think there are some, maybe two main directions. The first one, of course, we are interested in cooperation with other companies which are working or producing this space data, especially we're talking about the space data from spectrometers that we can use on our service. So this is the first part. Maybe there could be other ways to collect this data, so we can discuss different directions with such companies. And the second one, of course, we are interested in customers because we have our products. As I told you, the first one, it's our service, and the second one is satellite. So we're interested in customers also for service data, yes, and the second one for our satellite.
Thank you. We'll probably ask you to share the link to the platform so that we could disseminate it among all the participants.
Okay,
right after.
I will send you our full presentation and also the link on our website.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, I would like to give the floor to the last but not least speaker of today's roundtable, Ms. Anna Melkina, Head of G20 and Bilateral Climate Cooperation Division, Ministry of Economic Development of Russia. Please provide your feedback, thoughts on how today's discussion could be furthered at G20, APEC, or bilateral tracks of cooperation. Please, Anna.
Thank you very much, Evgenia, and good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to be present at today's event, and I think it's a very, very important one. So as a representative of Russian Federation at various multilateral platforms and in bilateral talks, we usually push the following idea that addressing climate change should be conducted in a manner that doesn't hamper economic growth, but contributes to sustainable development and well-being of many people. And it is very important to use different means in order to achieve those goals. And among them are definitely finance, technology, but what is more important, science and data. Without reliable scientific data, it is impossible to plan economic activities and climate policies that will contribute to one another and will contribute to sustainable development of our countries as a whole. And I view this event today as a showcase of best practices in the field of how we can develop better and more objective scientific data, how we can obtain data more efficiently, and in which ways we can complement one another. So we have seen the view from international and regional organizations. We have seen views from different APEC economies, and what they share in common is that data is important, developing technologies is important, access to finance to fuel this research and development is important, but what is more important is cooperation. And then they hope that both within APEC and in bilateral forms, this dialogue, which we started today, will continue, and that we will get a more closely connected APEC in terms of climate data. And I believe that it will definitely help our community, APEC, and the world on the whole to address climate change in the most efficient manner. I wish everyone the best of luck. I hope that all the participants find this event really fruitful, and I wish all those involved in the development of space technologies to keep going, because it's really exciting and really important for our world and for the generations to come. I thank you.
Thank you so much. I wanted to say that this will be the final remark of today, but we still have a Q&A session. In case there are some questions, colleagues, I am ready to give the floor for them. But the message that Anna provided is, I would say, the most important one that we've distinguished from today. Colleagues, if you have a question, please. Yes, I see a question on behalf of my esteemed colleagues, please.
Thank you, Evgenia, and thank you for all these today's speakers for very insightful and full of information, positive information and feedback presentations. My question is, hearing all these amazing stories of cross-border and trans-border cooperation on satellite monitoring, I just wonder what is pervasive in this context, technology or equipment, and what's a transfer of technology you see? This is the question to all speakers. What's transfer of technology you see as the most dramatic and important in the context of satellite monitoring, or is it just data sets that we need to access to? Thank you.
If I see probably Mr. Hamid Mahmoud, we get back to the issue of innovations, financing, and technology transfer. If you do not mind, I would suggest you to take this question. And do you believe that technology transfer matters? Is it important to share not only data sets, not only processed data and results of this processing, to particular customers, whether this be ministries, private sector, particular power plants, or someone else? Shall we also foster cooperation on technologies that provide these opportunities?
Thank you for this question. And I think I'll just start this that if there's no technology transfer, then we'll be stuck at a certain point in terms of data analysis. I'll just give you an example coming from the remote sensing community. You go back 15 years and everybody was using their desktop machines to process the Landsat data. You used to download the data on your machine and then you used to run the model for the whole night. And in the morning, you used to come and look at the results. If the results were good enough, you use them. Otherwise, you rerun the model and you have the whole day just for the waiting. What happened was that cloud computing happened, right? The cloud computing was really for the private sector. They were doing their own thing, running the models and running distributed models. But what the remote sensing community did was that it transferred the technology from private sector to their domain. And now 80 to 90% of the remote sensing data analysis is done on cloud. It's the 10% edge cases which are done on the machines. And if you talk to anybody who's like 20, 30 years into remote sensing domain, they will say that it has completely changed how you do analysis, right? You are able to run, validate the models, analyze on the go. Now you have tools available which can give outputs or insights to the policymakers in real time. So they go write the query and the output would be available to them. So that was one revolution or evolution that happened over the like 10, 15 years. The next thing that's happening is the foundational models. And that is the technology transfer that I'm really interested about. Fortunately or unfortunately, we will not have time to adapt to it as quickly as we would like. I mean, if you look at last 2 years, how LLMs or foundational models have evolved, we as remote sensing community who was developing solutions for climate resilience or disaster resilience, we did not catch up, right? You don't see that many solutions in terms of foundation models. So, and then the challenges that we're facing, we heard about those challenges, they are humongous challenges, right? So if we want to address those challenges and make sure that we have a go at SDGs and try to achieve them by 2030, it's imperative that we make sure that the technology is transferred south to south, north to south, wherever it is coming from. We should be open to all technologies. Yes, there will be teething problems. There will be, like, for example, with AI, we have ethical issues, regulatory issues, but everybody's working to sort them out. And that is the case with every technology. I remember when cloud computing came in, there was a big issue with security that the data will not be secure if you put it on cloud. But now everybody puts data on cloud. That's the security is not an issue. So hopefully, with AI and other things, the ethical elements will be sorted out. It will take time, but that should not stop us from making sure that technology transfer happens as we give finances, as we give trainings, as we give data, as we enable data sharing. We should be also focusing on the technology transfer enabling.
Thank you so much. Cannot but agree with you totally. And the fact that we shall catch up with this opportunity, it just goes without saying. Hopefully, indeed, the remote sensing community will be able to take this chance and to transfer it into further opportunities. especially in this particular industry, this historic moment, we are to be very careful about this synergy between digital and space technologies. I totally agree with you. Colleagues, do you have more questions for our speakers? If none, my suggestion would be that we finalize today's roundtable. We definitely thank all the speakers who spent their time there. Oh, I see one more question, please.
Thank you, Eugenia. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you.
Yes, my name is Irina Kozlova. I work for the Ministry of Economic Development of the Russian Federation. And actually, I have two questions to the colleague from Thailand, to Ms. Nuntikon. Ms. Nuntikon, thank you for your thought-provoking presentation on Thailand experience and the creation of national satellite monitoring ecosystem. You've elaborated on your work regarding the agriculture sector and waste, which are front runners as far as I see. Which other sectors do you monitor and put the most priority on? This is my first question. And the second one on the origin of these technologies. Are they developed in Thailand, or do you collaborate with other countries to develop them?
Yes, for the second questions regarding the methane emissions specifically, we are working with our colleagues from Japan and from France as well. And we are in our regions facing similar situations where we cultivate a lot of rice. So we work also sharing our analysis and methodological approaches with Vietnam as well as Indonesia. So for that, yes, collaboration is the key. So we work with a lot of people from experts and sharing with our neighboring countries as well. And for the first question, is if possible, can you repeat it again?
Yes, of course. You've mentioned your vast volume of work on the agriculture sector and on waste. So they are the front runner sectors. And which other sectors do you monitor and put the most priority on in your national policy?
Yes, for if we're talking about the national policy, the actually the biggest sector that we are focusing on is on energy actually. But with a lot of focus on them already, there are many technological approaches that cover the bottom-up part that are ready and available. So I focus on agriculture and waste, mainly because they lack the technological support. So to answer that, so the national priority is not in agriculture, actually it's in energy. But when looking at the needs for support, the agriculture sector is the priority. So it depends on how you look at it, right? So for agriculture sector, there's cover a very large area and still lacking the know-how. So that's why remote sensing or space-based solutions are very attractive because it can cover large area and still there are possibility to explore their utilizations. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, thank you once again for both questions and answers. My suggestion would be that we, as the organizers of the event, make up a summary reports of what has been voiced today. And probably there will be a list of recommendations for us to show and to convey to the Executive Secretariat of APEC, as well as the policy partnership on science, technology, and innovation. As I've mentioned, this is the umbrella office under which we hold this event today. We will definitely show the results of the summary report and recommendations to you. Try to accommodate any concerns if such arise. And this will be a kind of the first step for us to move forward on this agenda. Once again, thank you so much. It was not only informative, but it was exciting to talk to you, to know better this very urgent issue, and have good weekends. Thank you once again. Let us all keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.